took a day off. She's got no energy at all. Her speeches last for about 15 minutes. Peter knows that, by Peter. Her speeches last for about 15, 20 minutes. She's out of there. And right now, so think of this. We have 14 days to the most important election in the history of our country. It's actually only important for that. For us, it's important. For them, I don't think it's that important.
President Trump yesterday, he was on the campaign trail. Kamala was doing what Democrats do for, campaign substitute. They'd sit down and get a tongue bath from a network. It's different being a Democrat. It's like the Soviet Union, a lot like the Soviet Union, because the left is here. They call themselves Democrats, but they're not. We know better, don't we? Happy hump day to you. Happy Wednesday. That means that it's mailbag day. It's mailbag day here on the Chris Plante Show. And I have in my hands, printed out, mailbag questions. I was asked yesterday by someone late in the day yesterday, how do you choose your mailbag questions? And I said, well, really, I don't. Michael Piercy does. Kevin Tober does. Other people choose the mailbag questions, but I get to answer them, so that matters, I think. And today, of course, Hump Day in the Clinton household. Which mansion are they at today, Michael? Are they at their Embassy Row mansion, just blocks from the Obama mansion, which is in the shadow of the main mosque in Washington, D.C., the most beautiful sound he's ever heard? Barack Obama was the call to prayer at a mosque, because he's not really pro-Western. He's not a product of the Enlightenment. He's more of a product of the Bolshevik Revolution. And Barack Obama was out there campaigning yesterday for Kamala. And they weren't in the same room. They weren't in the same state, for that matter. So why is Barack Obama out there campaigning for Kamala when Kamala's not there? And, because he draws a crowd and she doesn't. I guess that might be part of it. So we've got that. And Joe Biden was on the loose. And Joe Biden was on the loose in a state where, well, they don't really need to be campaigning. And there's Joe Biden. He's theoretically, at least, the current president of the United States. But is he really? Who is really the president of the United States? What if we had a news media that asked questions that were appropriate to the moment? Then we'd have a very different country, and we'd have a very different news media, that's for sure. But Joe Biden out there campaigning, and he said some crazy stuff. I mean, his brain is so broke that it would be appropriate to feel sorry for him. But don't feel compelled to feel sorry for him. It's okay to feel contempt for him rather than pity, because, trust me, he's not on your side. Isn't that amazing? But he was out there lying yesterday. In New Hampshire. And why is he campaigning in New Hampshire? What is that? I mean, what do they have, like -1 electoral votes? Is that pretty amazing stuff? And he was lying. His bony can't grab an aluminum lawn chair butt off in New Hampshire yesterday, saying that President Trump wants to replace every civil servant, every single one. Sure. Thinks he has a right of the Supreme Court ruling on immunity to be able, if needed, that's just completely crazy, to actually physically eliminate, shoot, kill someone who he believes is a threat to him. That's what Joe Biden said yesterday. These people are mentally ill, and it's kind of funny on the one hand, and on the other hand, what the hell happened to the Democrat Party and to our country? And our filthy news media is such a disgrace to civilization itself. So I've got that coming up, because he's completely nuts. He's completely out of his mind. President Trump says he wants to replace every single civil servant. No, he doesn't. And he says that he wants to actually physically eliminate, shoot and kill someone who believes him to be a threat to him. Well, I mean, if he's like a North Korean attacking him over a hill with a bayonet or something, then perhaps, but just completely crazy. And then he says that we've got to lock Trump up, got to lock him up, because he's a fascist, a Nazi, a Mussolini, a Stalin, a Hitler. And aren't these the words that we all use now? These are the words that, it's just the normal patter we have in American politics, thanks to the left, and their Socialist Workers' Party. Pretty amazing stuff. But that's lock him up, and he's going to kill everybody. It's just, these people are sick in the head. They're legitimately mentally ill. And Joe Biden has just barely enough brain to be mentally ill. If his brain were any smaller, he would be incapable of being mentally ill, which is a little bit sad, I've got to say. But Joe Biden on the campaign trail, completely nutty, absolutely berserk. What's the matter with these people? What's the matter, you got no respect. Honestly, shut up, you face. We haven't played Shut Up, You Face in a long, long time. And as the campaign trundles forward, the Los Angeles Times, the most significant newspaper in the state of California, our most populous state, the Los Angeles Times announced that they're not going to endorse Kamala Harris for president. They endorsed her for attorney general in the state of California. They endorsed her for the U.S. Senate in the state of California. They endorsed Democrats constantly. And they're not going to endorse Kamala Harris, the Los Angeles Times. And the story is the owner of the newspaper called in and got a hold of the editorial board and said, I don't think we're going to endorse anybody this year. But honestly, not endorsing for any major filthy newspaper to not endorse the Democrat is, in effect, an endorsement of the Republican. And in this case, that's Donald Trump. So in a left-handed, sicko, demented, corrupt way, the Los Angeles Times is kind of endorsing Donald Trump by way of the fact that they're not endorsing Kamala Harris. How dare they? California's largest newspaper won't endorse presidential candidate. San Francisco Gate, the Chronicle there. And you may remember that the Teamsters, always in bed with the corrupt Democrat Party, the Teamsters won't endorse a candidate this year. And so then the leftists, they got some local chapters of the Teamsters to endorse Kamala Harris, and then they burned some cars and looted drugstores, I'm pretty sure. Pretty amazing stuff. So we got that gun. That is, in theory, a big deal. Amazing stuff. On the other hand, the Democrats, they had Eminem. Eminem, was he smoking crack or anything while he was? Because Eminem, he's all business, introducing Barack Obama at Kamala Harris rally. Obama raps. He's a rapper because, he's soul brother number one. He's Soul Train. And here comes the Barack Obama Soul Train. Absolutely amazing stuff. Also, the billionaire, the Democrat Party is the party of filthy billionaires. They pretend to hate billionaires, but it's really just part of their shakedown. It's part of their gun to the head. Their boy that said that they believe that Chairman Mao was right, that all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Well, they hold guns to heads all over the place. To the people at Twitter, it's why they really hate Elon Musk, because he doesn't care if you've got a gun to his head. And he is talking about being concerned that the Democrats are going to try to assassinate him. That's one of the things that Elon Musk is talking about. But billionaire Bill Gates gave $50 million to Kamala Harris's effort to become president. $50 million from the billionaires, and the just one billionaire. And how's that George Soros corruption going? The Democrats love corruption. They're the most corrupt group of people in Western civilization. They really are. They're so filthy corrupt. And speaking of, where's Doug Emhoff? Has he beaten any women lately? He was on television. He goes on television and nobody asks him about any of this stuff. Hey, you knocked up the nanny and paid for her abortion. Did you give her a ride down to the Planned Parenthood clinic and wait for her? Or did you just, give her bus fare and a pack of Marlboros? What's up with that? And nobody asks, because when you're a Democrat, you can knock up the nannies and crumble your marriage, and your kids go around with tattoos and scurvy, and that's okay. It's all fine. And then you can slap your girlfriend in circles at the Cannes Film Festival in France, as long as it's in France. I think it's okay with the Democrats. Pretty amazing stuff. Just amazing. Yeah, so Bill Gates, here's $50 million, and they go around condemning money in politics. That's their way of putting a gun to Bill Gates' head and saying, you better cough up tens of millions of dollars to me. Otherwise, they'll punish you. They'll use the state to punish you. As they've made clear, they're threatening to punish Elon Musk and put him in prison. And Joe Biden yesterday talking about putting Trump in prison while going around just last week saying, yeah, Trump is going to put his political enemies in prison while they're actively attempting to put their political enemies in prison. And while there is no evidence whatsoever that Trump would put political enemies in prison, he was president for 4 years already. He did none of that. You guys, on the other hand, long list of your political enemies that you put in prison, in some cases for extraordinary periods of time. Amazing stuff. Also, did you hear about Kamala Harris berating her campaign manager, because her campaign manager made her skip, didn't make her skip, but whatever, Kamala skipped the Al Smith dinner at Catholic Charity in New York. And they instead, it was worse than phoning it in. They just sent a video of Kamala with Molly Shannon, who decades ago was on Saturday Night Live, decades ago. I guess that's because, Ed Sullivan wasn't available or something, but pretty amazing stuff. And now her berating of her campaign manager, which is racist to do, honestly, because her campaign manager is Julie Chavez Rodriguez. Therefore, a WOC. She's WOC. She's a woman of color. And you can't yell at her. And Julie Chavez Rodriguez, who is the granddaughter of Cesar Chavez, not Hugo Chavez, but Cesar Chavez, who wanted you to boycott grapes 100 years ago. And she's the granddaughter of and by the way, Cesar Chavez was very much against illegal aliens coming into the country, representing farm workers. He was at the time, workers. Amazing stuff. And Tim Walz cursing up a storm on stage because they're keeping it classy, America, keeping it classy. Just like Ron Burgundy in San Diego. Just amazing. Tim Walz rips Elon Musk for skipping like a beep. And I can't say the word, but the Democrats they now curse at political events because they're filth. They should honestly have tattoos all over their faces, and they should be wearing armbands. They should join the Venezuelan gangs. Oh, we got another convoy headed to the United States, too, of illegal aliens, because people want to get in before the election, knowing that the commies are in charge now, and the commies are here to tear down the United States of America, so they want to get in now. Amazing stuff. And even CNN, even fake news CNN, they've got a fake fact checker there, and the fake fact checker says Tim Walz's claim about Donald Trump's economy, not true. Not even close to true. Nothing resembling the truth. But they can do that because they're Democrats. And even CNN, it reached my threshold where it becomes too embarrassing for even the left to say it out loud. So they had to fact check that what Tim Walz is saying about the Trump economy, simply not true, just not true. Nuh-uh. Man. Yes, sir. Not even close to true, but they go around saying it's and good for one person at CNN. They'll never mention it on the TV, but that's okay. They got more fake news about Donald Trump disparaging the family of bleeping Mexican and the cost of the burial. I don't think so. Donald Trump going to do an interview with Joe Rogan on his podcast, on his big podcast. Tulsi Gabbard left the Democrat Party already, but she made another big announcement yesterday, and I've got that for you. We have a separate category, other idiot Democrats. Did you see the idiot Democrat running for Senate who shot a reporter yesterday with an AR-15 rifle? Really, it was a ricochet. Ping, ping, ping. Ricochet rabbit, but the idiot Democrat running for Senate, Lucas Kuntz, he firing an AR-15 rifle at a steel plate 15 feet from him. Ricochet wounded a news reporter. It's only a flesh wound, though. It's only a scratch. Got to get back to work. All kinds of amazing news today. And men stealing women's medals in women's sports, women athletics. There's a new study out about how many medals Democrat trannies have stolen from women because they have problems with their moms. Bom, 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 ba-dum, bom, ba-dum. All right, let's go to the telephones. And we do have mailbag today, too. Let's go to Steve, calling from Ashburn, Virginia. Stephen, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Actually, I'm on the road, but typically from Ashburn. First, thanks for keeping it classy. You do a great job. So this is an important date in our history. October 23rd, 1983, 241 Marine sailors and a soldier died in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut. I was there and left just a few weeks before then, so I lost a lot of shipmates. And also on this day, 1956, is the anniversary of the Hungarian Revolution. In Budapest, interestingly, my brother-in-law was a teenager throwing Molotov cocktails at the Soviet tanks, and he became a Marine, a U.S. Marine, when he came to the U.S. and served 2 tours in Vietnam. So this day is important to me personally and in our family. So I just wanted, with all the political hubbub going on right now, is for us to remember this date in history. So that's what I have for you, Chris.
I'm very glad that you called in now. You were in Beirut. You were in uniform as a Marine a couple of weeks before the barracks bombing. Is that right?
No, I wasn't in uniform, but I was a supply officer of one of the Navy ships.
I see.
I see. Supply officer. In fact, you and I have met at a Naval Academy football game. But no, I was ashore a lot because that's where I had to do my work to keep the ship supplied and do all those things. Now, but I was there many times and in that building and left, sadly, a lot of my Marine shipmates behind. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's a very nice small memorial in Arlington Cemetery for the Marines. So if you get a chance to go there and pay your respects, that would be an honor for those.
Yeah.
I was a sailor, wore a uniform, but in the Navy.
And the memorial, I think, is up by the amphitheater, right?
Actually, it's down pretty low. It's on the lower end of the lower end of the cemetery. It's actually, I think, not all that far from the columbarium. It's down in that area. There's a tree, and of course there's a cedar tree for Lebanon, and there's a small memorial.
And your brother fighting the commies in Hungary, boy, that's amazing stuff. Stephen, thank you for calling in, saluting you. I've been saying for years that if you're a registered Democrat, you should be prohibited from owning firearms. That would cut the murder rate. You know, if you really couldn't, it'd be illegal. They'd still go around shooting people, the Democrats would. They shoot a lot of people every year. A lot of people get shot by Democrats every year. Pretty amazing stuff. But a dim-witted Democrat, which might be redundant and repetitive and unnecessarily duplicative, but a dim-witted Democrat who's running for the United States Senate was showing how manly he is by taking an AR-15 style rifle to an outdoor location, and firing away with the AR-15 style rifle that Democrats want to ban. And this might help explain why. We saw Tim Walz recently trying to load his own shotgun with 12-gauge shells, and he was clearly incapable of figuring out how to put shells into what was allegedly his own 12-gauge shotgun. And I don't know, it didn't look like it was his shotgun.
That's my theory. And it never fits quite right.
Never fits quite right.
Governor, what kind of gun is it?
This is a Beretta A400.
Beretta A400.
I bought it when I was shooting a lot of trap.
You're shooting a lot of trap, but he never loaded his own shotgun because he still doesn't know how to load it. And then he went walking around for a while with the media following him around. He never fired a shot. And what were they hunting? Pheasant. They were hunting pheasant. Did they get any pheasant? Nobody got any. They didn't bag any pheasant. Normally when you go pheasant hunting, there are a lot of pheasant out there. And sometimes the the people arranging the hunt even put pheasant out there in the tall grass and then go scare them out so they go flying away, and then you shoot them. Doesn't seem very sporting, but that happens. Now let's get back to this dim-witted Democrat running for Senate. TV, here's the Kansas City Star, the newspaper out of Kansas City, Missouri, where I lived for less than a year. Kansas City, Missouri. I liked it very much. The city, that is. Now, TV reporter struck by bullet fragment at Lucas Kunz shooting range campaign event. Dominic Williams writes the story for the Kansas City Star. Pretty good headline there. TV reporter, and there's a picture of the TV reporter. He's kind of smiling because he took one for the team. And then the Democrat is wrapping some treatment around his, medic. They're like, hey, medic, we got a Democrat trying to shoot a target and shot a news reporter. So the TV reporter struck by bullet fragment at Lucas Kunz shooting range campaign event. Pretty amazing stuff. A bullet fragment struck a TV reporter at a shooting range. Looks like a makeshift shooting range, the best kind, by the way, during a campaign event on Tuesday for U.S. Senate candidate Lucas Kunz. It's Kunce, Kunce, who provided first aid to the journalist. Kunz, a Democrat, how about that? That's very unusual. I'm appreciative. Thank you very much. Was at a private residence near Holt, north of Kansas City, with former U.S. Representative Adam Kinzinger, an Illinois Republican, treacherous, treasonous, traitorous. Now he's a Democrat, I think. When a fragment appeared to have ricocheted off a target. Isn't that amazing? Kunz was shooting an AR-15 at the time, and he was the only person shooting when the injury occurred. Otherwise, he'd blame somebody else, I think is what they mean to say. The reporter, whose name Ryan Gamboa of KSHB TV, began bleeding from his arm. And it looks like his right arm around the elbow got fragged over there. Kunz, who spent 13 years in the Marines. But apparently he was in charge of paperwork or something because, you don't set up big steel targets 15 feet from your nose and then fire 5.56 or 2.23 rounds at your steel plate when it's 15 feet away, because that would be stupid, wouldn't it? Oh, see, bing, bing, ping, ping. Come on, Ricochet Rabbit. Honestly, those are our own sound effects. They don't have any video, allegedly, of this incident taking place, which is kind of amazing since it's a bunch of people at a campaign event with news crews in tow. But somehow there's no video, they say, of the incident itself, which means they're probably lying about it. But the TV reporter Ryan Gamboa began bleeding from his arms. And Kunz, who spent 13 years in the Marine Corps, but apparently didn't do very well, wrapped gauze and his belt. He took off his belt around the reporter's arm to help stop the bleeding. That's always job one after you've shot somebody and you didn't mean to, The wound was later wrapped with medical tape. That's good. Who brought the medical tape? Gamboa remained at the range and continued on his assignment. Now, there's a dedicated news reporter for you. It's just a scratch. It's only a flesh wound. I've had worse. I'll walk it off. Pretty amazing stuff, I've got to say. The Missouri Democrat candidate for U.S. Senate, Lucas Kunz. And we've got a couple of clips from the local news media there. Kunz said he had a first aid kit on hand because he knows whenever he goes shooting, that it's likely he's going to wing somebody. So he always brings a first aid kit because he knows his history. You never know what's going to happen. Shrapnel can ricochet off of anything. Let's go. We've got, what do we have? 3 sound bites and it's the local TV news people. From this station. It's KSHB TV. The reporter, Ryan Gamboa, the Democrat that shot him, is a Democrat Missouri Senate candidate. and his name is Lucas Kunz, although people have been known to pronounce it differently.
We have an important update this morning about our colleague, reporter Ryan Gamboa.
Yeah, Ryan was struck by a metal fragment while covering a campaign event for Democratic candidate for Senate Lucas Kunz. Ryan went to a hospital after the incident, saying his injuries were minor. He's been released. It's not clear if what struck him in the arm was by a bullet ricochet or another type of metal fragment. The event was at a private residence in Holt, Missouri. Kunz was firing an AR-15 style weapon at the time Ryan was struck and was among those who came to his aid.
It's not clear if it's a ricochet, the bullet, or a metal fragment from the steel plate that he was shooting with the AR-15 style rifle. I got to tell you, the Marine Corps called. They want their uniform back. They honestly, you're gonna fire this thing 15 feet away at a plate. I go out and shoot stuff, and the best, I'm looking at the pictures. I'm like, it looks like a nice place to shoot. Looks like private property, and it is private property. And there's a tree line back there, although looks like they're shooting down a hill. Usually you shoot into a hillside rather than down a hill. I'm not sure what Kunz did in the Marine Corps. I'm going to have to look that up. Maybe he's Agent Orange. I don't know. Maybe he's great. But the big mistake here, looking pretty stupid, and honestly. And what he's running against Josh Hawley, right? He's running against Josh Hawley, which is, I would think that Josh Hawley's got to be. He's great. He's one of the great senators because he's on our side, and the Democrats, they're not so good. Kunz faces an uphill climb in his campaign against Senator Josh Hawley, the Republican seeking his second term in the United States Senate. A September poll from Emerson College says, and The Hill, the newspaper The Hill, placed Hawley's support at 51%, with Kunz at 40%. 51 to, that's the biggest spread in the country, I think. Isn't everything always 49.5 to 50.5? Honestly. So the local news media, they're on the job. Oh, I'm sorry. This is Lucas Kunz himself. So, it's just a scratch. It's only a flesh wound. I've had worse.
We had earplugs. We had eye protection.
Oh, that's
we had
good.
an NRA certified trainer there.
Really?
And it's
He's
a
fired.
range that they've used several times. He's done concealed and carry classes there. And with anything having to do with firearms, it's an inherently dangerous tool. And so you have to put in as many safety precautions as you can, and then you have to have precautions for anything happens. And so first aid kits, things like that, and a little piece of frag bounced back and nicked somebody's arm, and we were able to treat it.
Somebody's arm. It's his own arm, right? That's the guy who was hit, right? That's Kunz. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was the reporter himself. That's Kunz instead. Yeah, and hey, look, whenever I go out, sure, I've drawn blood a lot of times at shooting ranges on the, my friend's backyard, some property, and not very good at this whole thing, but that's okay. Pretty amazing moment for him. Yes, sir. Dun, dun, dun. He's an attorney, too. That might explain it. Lucas Tyree Kunz. And the local news people, they're still trying to sort out how to pronounce his name, too.
So again, we do want to stress that Ryan has been released from the hospital and says his injuries were minor.
Kunz is a gun owner and Second Amendment supporter. It was holding the event with former Illinois Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger as we get closer to Election Day.
Never hold an event with Adam Kinzinger. I think that's the thing about him. Well, Kunz, it turns out he went to Yale. He went to Yale for his BA, and he that's probably the problem right there. And the University of Missouri for his law degree, and he's a Democrat. That's the problem. Says that he reached the rank of lieutenant colonel in the United States Marine Corps, and they say Marine Forces Special Operations Command. I don't know, the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War. He should know better than to be shooting steel plates 15 feet away and bouncing rounds all over the place.
Bing, bing, bing! Ricochet Rabbit is here.
Like he should be, wannabe Senator Ricochet Rabbit over there. Let's grab a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Gina calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Gina, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So I was listening to you talk about the man with the elbow injury, and I said to your screener, was he sure it was his elbow? Because they don't know their elbow from their backside.
That's a fair point. It's the, was it his elbow or was it, tea kettle over elbows and things like that? It could have been almost any part of his body. I'm
actually the lady who called in a few years back there when Pocahontas was doing her thing, and I said, "Are you sure she's not Pocahontas?" And hello, it works.
And so I poached that from you. You're the one that introduced Pocahontas?
Yeah, I told your screener to have fun with it, and I guess you did.
Yeah, heck yeah. That's funny. I was talking about Pocahontas just yesterday, I think, down at Newsmax, as a matter of fact, as President Trump continues to call her Pocahontas. But you are correct, Gina, that Pocahontas is perfect.
Thank you.
That means you're perfect, doesn't it?
Oh, honey, no.
Well, that's great.
But I can be a smart aleck.
Smart aleck. That's it. Even keeping it clean because we're on the radio. A smart aleck. Gotta love smart. Why aleck anyway?
Well, I guess I'm identifying as an aleck today.
You're great. Listen to you. Shape shifting and gender morphing and all that good stuff.
Hey, that's why my husband keeps me around.
That's good. I'm sure that's only one of many reasons, but that's great stuff. Gina, great call. Wonderful stuff. And we, of course, Gina, we all feel sorry for the poor reporter that got shot, right? I mean, it's very sad.
Oh, I guess so. Sure. Standing. Hey, why would you be standing that close to a target in the first place?
Well, and they said they have an NRA range or an NRA certified instructor. And I think the NRA certified instructor should lose his card because you don't stand 15 feet from big steel plates and shoot them with AR-15 rifles because there's likely to be about a lot of bounce. And, if you really are an NRA instructor, you might say, no, listen, this is a little, we can shoot into wood from this. And there should be a hillside back here too, but there isn't.
Yeah, you got to have a backstop.
That's right. You got to have a backstop. See, if only you had been there.
Was that NRA instructor, did he have them sign off on a disclaimer that he instructed them properly and they ignored him?
We're going to have to, I'm sure that this will not be looked into by anyone, as usual. Remarkable stuff. Gina in Fredericksburg, you're the best.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too. What did that beep beep sound like? What did that sound like? Yeah, okay. Maybe beep beep. Sound like the car door. Let's go. Because people like this. Let's go to Mark calling from Landover Hills, Maryland. Marcus, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, top of the day to you, Chris.
Welcome.
Hey, Chris, I called in and was talking to Jeff, man, and this is just some of the craziest stuff you'll ever hear. You played those cuts, and it just reinforced what I told Jeff, that these people don't take anything seriously, and when they make a mistake, they always make light of it, and someone could have been seriously injured by their lack of knowledge and their lack of having any common sense about shooting. I have been shooting my whole life, and I'm a hunter and a gun owner, and I would never do anything like that. And if I had been there, I would have left and told them that they were being totally unsafe. And this type of moronic attitude, every one of these fellas has been to a place of higher learning, and they don't have the common sense of a turnip. A turnip's got more common sense, Chris.
Right, and you were saying about him before you learned that he went to Yale.
Yes, I knew that every one of those guys, Chris. They don't teach these people common sense. They teach them how to lie and cheat and not be responsible for your actions. I believe Larry even said earlier they had pictures, and the guy was shooting with his eye protection on top of his head. And I did not hear anyone say about hearing protection. When they all get tinnitus from not doing it properly, I don't know if you could feel sorry for them.
Well, you could, but you'd be wasting your energy, I think.
Exactly, Chris, exactly. And one other thing, Chris.
Yes.
Lately, there's been a lot of talk about Mr. Trump using the word dictator. Well, I don't know if these ignorant people, these Marxists, as Mr. Levin calls them, because that's what they are, they're constantly trying to do away with history, because you should learn from history. But two of the first guys to use that term in political and in a public forum was Fighting Joe Hooker and Abraham Lincoln. And basically what Fighting Joe said was what they needed to win the war was a dictatorship. And that was happened down around Fredericksburg before he got command.
Well, you know, wait till you hear what Joe Biden had to say, speaking of dictator yesterday, and putting Trump in jail and shooting, and they're back to shooting people. You always got to look out when the left starts talking about shooting people en masse. We should all be worried if you have any awareness of human history in the 20th century. Just saying. Mark, thank you.
You know, a little piece of frag bounced back and nicked somebody's arm, and we were able to treat it.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That was the training that I had. You know.
Yeah, that was the training he had. Wait a minute. Was that the Democrat Senate candidate from Missouri, or was that Alec Baldwin? Was that Lucas Kunz, or was that Alec Baldwin? I think it might have been Alec Baldwin. Remarkable stuff, I got to say. I'm looking at the clock, and we don't have a ton of time, do we? And I don't think we have. We can do a color justice if you want to say more than a couple of sentences. It would be wrong. But we continue to be at 888-630-9625. When you bring your rifle out to somebody's property, which is the best place to be shooting for sure, and you have big steel plate set up 15 feet from you, and you're firing an assault-style rifle with a .223 round or a .556 round, you should look out for ricochets because, you know, ricochet rabbit is everywhere, and we got that going. Also, I want to get to it lickety-split, too. All of the women's athletic trophies that Democrats have stolen from women, Democrat men.